thank you for having me. And you, I think of probably anybody on the planet will get what I'm about to say in your
Yeah.
bones because you understand the profound impact that the 5 second rule as a starting ritual has had on millions of people's lives, helping them move from
Yeah.
thinking to doing. And even sitting here, Jim, with you, which it's just an honor being such a fan of your work too, to be here with you, even sitting here knowing the impact that the 5 second rule has had on millions of people's lives.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you something.
What's that?
The high five habit is an even bigger deal with more profound change. And I can't wait to unpack it, but I'll tell you personally, I used the 5 second rule to turn my life around, to go from being bankrupt to being extraordinarily successful, to changing every habit I have, to improving my marriage. It got me into action. But I'll tell you what it never did. It never silenced the critic in my head that I lived with. It never ended the relentless beatdown that I was giving myself. And it never broke the habit that I had of constantly hating myself or focusing on the things that weren't working instead of celebrating myself and focusing on the things that were. And the high five habit cuts right down through all that noise and reconnects you with the you that's in there, with the confidence that is your birthright. And the way that it literally reprograms your mind is breathtaking.
Well, we talk a lot about morning routines, and this was the easiest thing to add to my morning routine. That's given me so much in return, and not just in terms of in a short period of time, in terms of the ripple of it, but even just immediately, just celebrating myself in the bathroom mirror, and what we could talk about how that works. I'm also, by the way, pulling back, a big fan of just counting down from 5. Getting myself out of bed or getting myself to put on my running shoes, and so I could see the difference in how they complement each other so well. And so maybe we could walk our listeners through this. And I would highly recommend everyone, I mean, our audience loves to read, to make sure you get your copy also as well.
Well, so it's very simple. And since I know that your listeners want to get right into the science and right into what to do, I'm not even going to tell you the story because I did not set out to create this. I created the high five habit on a morning that everybody can relate to, a morning where life felt overwhelming, a morning where I felt defeated, a morning where I felt sort of stuck and dreading the day. And I was standing there brushing my teeth, Jim, and I catch my reflection in the mirror and I think, oh, you look like hell. And then all of a sudden I started to criticize the way that I looked, like the dark circles under my eyes, the bags under my kind of chin and neck, and one boob's hanging lower than the other. And then once your thoughts go negative, they kind of take you down. So now I'm thinking about my day ahead and I'm beating myself up. Why'd I get up so late? And I've only got 8 minutes to the first Zoom call and the dog hasn't even been walked. And you just said something interesting. It's an easy thing. The high five habit is an easy thing to add to the morning routine. We all talk a lot about morning routines. It wasn't until I discovered this that I realized there was a piece to my morning routine I was not even aware of. A habit that I needed to break, Jim. A habit that gratitude and exercise and all this stuff was not actually erasing. A habit of standing before the bathroom mirror and either ignoring the human being you see in the mirror or criticizing them. That is how we start our day. 91% of women don't like how they look. 50% of us can't even look in the mirror. I know it's true for men too. We stand in judgment. And so what happened for me this morning, here's the high five habit. It is profoundly simple. It's going to change your life the second you're done brushing your teeth. And I want you to do it right after you brush your teeth because I want you to stack this habit with something you're already doing because because you listen to this podcast, that it's the fastest way to learn a new behavior. Yep. Let's get the gunk out of your teeth so you don't spread dragon breath on everybody. Now let's get the gunk out of your head so you're not spreading negativity throughout your day. As you stand in front of the mirror, I want you to leverage a little piece of research from Harvard. New research shows that if you take less than a minute and you intentionally think about the day ahead and how you're going to show up as a leader, it changes your productivity, your focus, how you show up, and your ability to impact people. Let's throw that out the window in terms of being a leader, and let's look in the mirror and let's use that for ourselves to improve our own lives. I want you to take a second and I want you to realize there's actually two people in the bathroom every morning, Jim. There's you and there's a human being in the mirror that's been waiting for you to wake up and realize they need you. They're trying hard. They've got a good heart. They need your support and your encouragement. They need you to see them. They need you to love them. That is literally what I'm talking about when I talk about the high five habit, that you wake up and recognize there is a person you go through life with that stares you back in the mirror every morning, and your habit right now is to tear them down or ignore them. And I want you to set an intention, and I want you to look at them in the morning. And this is going to feel weird because you're going to realize I've never actually asked myself this question. And here's the question. What is that person in the mirror? What is she or he or they? What do they need from me today? We think about it for work, for our families, for everybody else. Yeah. You've never stopped and asked yourself, looking at yourself in the mirror, how do I need to show up for that person today? Then, as you've got that intention, despite the fact that it feels weird, despite the fact that you're going to resist this, and we can talk about why you're going to feel most likely resistance, I then want you to raise your hand and I want you to high five the reflection. And what's amazing about this new habit, Jim, is your brain and your nervous system are already designed to do the work for you.
Mm-hmm. Because also, you think about how we high five other people, throughout the day.
Yep.
And to celebrate them, to encourage them, but we're not always doing that. It's interesting because no amount of love is enough to fill the yearning that our soul requires from ourselves, right? When do we work daily on being in love with that person in the mirror who has been through so much, but is still standing?
Yeah. And think about some of the habits that we know based on research change your life. Meditation. Meditation is profoundly important. The benefits you talk about all the time. Meditation develops self-awareness. It also helps you learn how to be non-reactive to your thoughts, but it doesn't change your default thoughts. Yeah. Gratitude, also hugely important, tremendous benefit. Yes, you should have a gratitude practice. However, almost all of us, when we practice gratitude, we think about things outside of ourselves that we're grateful for. And so the high five habit is about bringing the power back in-house. It's about giving you a science-backed tool that will teach you through a simple action how to support, how to love, how to encourage, how to celebrate yourself every single day. And let me explain the science, because this is where things get crazy. The reason why this works is because of the programming that's already in your brain. So you have a lifetime of giving and receiving high fives. In fact, Jim, when somebody high fives you or you high five somebody else, what does the gesture alone of a high five tell somebody else?
That they are extraordinary, they are amazing. Congratulations, you're winning.
Exactly. You don't ever high five somebody and say, I hate you. You always high five and are like, I love you. We got this. No problem. Go get them. You're going to win. Even if somebody just blew it, you high five them and it's like, shake it off. Come on. I still believe in you. Let's go. And so all of that programming is right here in the interior of your brain. It's in your basal ganglia. It is in your subconscious. It is sitting there and it is married to the action of high fiving. So what happens is when you stand there, you set this intention, you're with yourself, you see yourself, you feel the resistance, you ignore the resistance, you go to high five yourself. Your brain's like, oh, I know what this gesture means. It activates the subconscious programming. It silences the critic and the beatdown. You can't think anything but positive thoughts. It's impossible neurologically because of the programming already in your brain. And then over time, if you do this, give me just 5 days. You do this 5 days in a row, fight through the weirdness because it's new and the resistance because you have the opposite habit. You judge yourself, you reject yourself. When you high five yourself, it silences that. It activates the programming that's already in your brain and it starts to marry it with your own reflection. And that's not all. I talked to our buddy, Dr. Amen, the other day. He went bananas when he heard about this. He's like, Mel, holy cow. Do you realize you also get a boost in your mood because when you high five other people, you get a dopamine drip. So you get a dopamine drip when you do this to yourself. He also said, you know how when you come into the bathroom and you're kind of dragging in the energy, and when you high five yourself, whether it's because you laugh or because you just kind of feel good, you get this little like pep in your step. So you start your day feeling slightly more energized. I'm like, yeah, Dr. Amen, tell me about that. He said, well, that's your nervous system. Your nervous system is encoded with celebratory energy. When you cross a finish line, you raise your hands. When your favorite team scores, you raise your hands. When you say hello to somebody, you raise your hands. When you hug somebody, you raise your hands. When you high five, you raise your hands. Your nervous system remembers it. That's where the energy comes from. The coolest thing about the high five habit, Jim, is the programming is already in you because you've been doing this your whole life for everybody else.
Yeah. And we are hardwired for this.
Hardwired. In fact, when you were born, DNA, in your DNA was celebration and joy. Little kids, when you see them in front of a mirror, they don't step back and go, my thighs are fat. Man, I'm a loser. They don't do that. They spin, they high five the mirror, they kiss the mirror, they love themselves. This is your birthright. It was your life experience that taught you to judge and reject yourself. And I'm here to tell you this simple habit of standing before the mirror and raising your hand and high-fiving yourself like you so willingly do for everybody else. Yeah. You don't have to say a thing. You can have resistance. You can feel that it's weird. You can literally reject it in your mind as you start to do it, and you will experience massive transformation as you complete the gesture because your mind is wired for this. You know, my husband, Jim, a lot of people know the story because it was his restaurant business failing that rocketed us into this personal crisis. And that's when I invented the 5-second rule. Well, his best friend and he worked at that restaurant business for 7 years. And at the end of the 7 years, they sold it for a song to a new investor. And our best friend, his business partner, was able to shrug and go, okay, well, that's entrepreneurship. I'm very proud of what we did. I'm proud of how hard we worked. And, you know, did we return the profit we wanted? No, but I'm still proud of myself. My husband couldn't do that. My husband said, I failed. Do you know for 7 years, he has looked in the mirror every morning, Jim, like so many of us do, and dragged his past in there and said, because this thing in my past, I am a failure. I am unworthy. I am unlovable. When I first started this high five thing in April of 2020 to pick myself up after getting fired from my dream job as a talk show host and in the throes of the pandemic and my kids in crisis and the world in crisis and just feeling overwhelmed, Chris couldn't do it. And the reason why he couldn't do it is the reason why everybody's resistant to doing it. It's because he was dragging all of that judgment and everything from his past into the bathroom every morning. And he was saying, because of that experience, I don't see a human being that's worthy of celebration. So if you've experienced trauma or abuse or discrimination, or you've been abandoned, or, you know, you're a human being and you've done things you've regretted, or you wish you could change and you'd forgive Jim or me for it, but you stand in judgment of yourself, you will resist this because right now you see a human being who doesn't deserve celebration. If you're like Jim and I, and you are very much achievement driven, you may realize as you resist this, that you don't celebrate yourself unless you've done something, unless you've worked out, unless you've got the money in the bank, unless you're driving the Range Rover, unless you fix that thing. And what I'm here to tell you is we got it all opposite, Jim.
Yeah.
You see, we've been withholding the very support and celebration that we need in order to feel inspired, encouraged, and motivated to take the actions that change our life. But let's detour into the lane of anxiety, of patterns and trauma, and talk about why people self-sabotage.
Yes.
People don't self-sabotage intentionally. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, today, I'm going to screw up my life.
Right.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to drink myself on the ground. I'm going to cheat on my wife. I'm going to embezzle for my company. I'm going to lie to everybody about how I'm actually feeling. I'm going to stop taking my meds. I'm going to kick the dog. Like, nobody does that. What happens is people get triggered.
And they react.
And then they fall into old patterns. And so what happens, I believe, in relationships in particular, or jobs, where you're like, this time it's going to be different, is it's different for the first 3 to 6 months when it's novel and when you're intentional and when everything counts.
But then when you got to face yourself.
Then when it becomes like part of your life, you get lazy and you slip into old patterns. Or when the stakes get really high. Let's say you're somebody who had a parent die early, or your dad abandoned the family and you're scared to love somebody. And so you fall deeply for somebody. And then what gets triggered is this tremendous fear that they're going to leave.
Yeah.
Because that's your lived experience. And if you go back to what you did as a child to cope with that fear that somebody's going to leave, that's the exact pattern that you will repeat as an adult. The only way to end this, or to try to get your arms around it, is to attack it holistically. Because so much of this happens at the subconscious level, and it gets triggered first by your nervous system, and you're not even aware of it.
Right.
And so there's a tool that I talk about in this book called high-fiving your heart.
Your heart.
Your heart, yep. So what you do, and I started doing this because I was having this incredible response from past trauma happen when the pandemic hit. So when the pandemic hit, I started waking up feeling like something was terribly wrong. And it would start in my ankles, and it would flood up my legs and go all the way up my body, and I would feel this wave come up. My immediate thought is, something's wrong. And my heart would start to race, and I'd feel this full-on like anxiety response. And I know what that is now. So I now know that the anxiety response of waking up, which so many people do, this is really actually very, very common.
People wake up anxious.
Yes, feeling like they're in trouble, or something's wrong, or something's about to go wrong.
Yeah, that's not good.
Well, if you grew up in a chaotic household.
That's normal.
Yep. Yeah. If you had a caregiver that gave you the silent treatment, or had mental illness, or had a drinking problem,
or
if there was abuse in your house, you did wake up.
Anxious.
Because your anxiety, by the way, was trying to protect you. It was putting you in a state of being alert so that you were ready in case something happened. But for a ton of us, Lewis, we have lived our whole lives with a dysregulated nervous system. That's what I've come to learn during the pandemic. That I have literally lived since probably the 4th grade with my nervous system never truly resetting back to a calm, resting state. And so I started to wake up every morning in the pandemic, like so many people did. And I've always kind of had this sort of wake up and feeling like something's wrong. Like, Chris is mad. Like my first thing is like, Chris is already up, he's meditating, he's angry that I've slept 15 minutes longer than it. Like, it's so stupid. This is how we torture ourselves. But during the pandemic, it was like a full-on anxiety response. And so I started doing this thing where I would put my hands on my heart, like right in the center of my chest. I got big mitts just like you, so you can kind of hit the whole thing. Take a deep breath, and then I would say, I'm okay, I'm safe, I'm loved. If you can say those things, in this moment, it's true. You are okay. You are safe, and you are loved, whether you're waking up in a mansion or a homeless shelter. And what would happen as I was doing this, high-fiving my heart, is you're pressing on the vagus nerve. Like, that's what you're actually toning. That's the same thing that Wim Hof is teaching with the ice bath. You're toning your vagus nerve. And what the vagus nerve is, as you very well know, because you talk about it on the show, is it's the switch between your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, fight or flight versus rest. So if you ever find yourself in a stressful state, give your heart a high five. Put your hands on your heart, go, I'm okay, I'm safe, I'm loved. Repeat it 111 times if you need to. What you'll feel is you'll feel your nervous system start to settle. You'll feel yourself come back into your body. You'll feel your mind slow down. And you will literally take control of your nervous system. It is unbelievable. And it's also really important because, in researching this book, I talked to, the acclaimed Dr. Judy Willis, who's a incredible neuroscientist. And she explained something that I never knew, but it makes a lot of sense. If your nervous system is on edge, it's in a alert state, you're dysregulated, it's impossible for your cognitive function of your brain to work. I can give you an example. If somebody were to bust in here with a gun and try to rob us, would you be able to do a math problem?
No.
No.
I'd be like, just thinking safety.
Yes, exactly.
Save my life.
I bet the majority of people actually walk around with a nervous system that is on edge like that, particularly post-pandemic.
Yeah.
And for me, the reason why I've actually linked it all the way back. So when I was in the 4th grade, I was molested while I was sleeping by an older kid.
Wow.
And in the kind of array of things that can happen in terms of sexual abuse, mine was very tame.
Yeah.
Like, it was a one-time incident. It was a kid who was slightly older than me. It was confusing, not scary. I just possumed, disassociated, don't even remember how it ended. And for a long time, I didn't even remember it. And then I remembered it when I was 28 years old. And I believe that the reason why I have always woken up in a state on edge is because of that incident.
Since the 4th grade?
Yes.
Wow.
And the thing is, Lewis, is that the morning's a trigger. If you have that stored in your body, something happened to you, something's wrong, because something was wrong. And you don't have the tools, and no kid does, to smooth out your nervous system and heal the trauma, that trauma lives in your body.
Yes.
And so I believe most self-sabotaging behavior that people continue to repeat is nothing but stored trauma and your best ability to cope with it when it was happening.
That's why we sabotage.
Yes. So I don't think it's intentional. I really don't. Like, even somebody who's diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder, they don't know that they have that.
Right.
Like, they're not it's like such a programmed behavior. There's no, I'm going to go do the, I'm in love with this person. Let's go screw it up.
Right.
That's not what happens. And this is also why I'm telling you, I know I'm crazy passionate about this topic of this standing in front of the mirror and changing how you see yourself. If you don't get a hold of that story, I'm worthless, I'm unlovable, I screw everything up, I'm a bad person, I'm not good enough, nothing works out for me. If you don't change that and start cheering yourself forward, you will stay locked in these self-sabotaging patterns, because you will act in a way that you believe it subconsciously or unconsciously. I know, it's heavy. Oh, sorry, keep swearing.
It's all good, yeah.
I think it's garbage because at some point we all bought into this lie that you got to feel ready in order to change.
Yeah.
We bought into this complete falsehood that at some point you're going to have the courage. At some point you're going to have the confidence, and it's total bullshit, frankly. Are we allowed to swear on this
Absolutely.
show? Okay. It's complete garbage, and so there are so many people in the world, and you may be watching this right now, and you have these incredible ideas, and what you think is missing is motivation. And that's not true. Because the way that our minds are wired, and the fact about human beings, is that we are not designed to do things that are uncomfortable or scary or difficult. Our brains are designed to protect us from those things because our brains are trying to keep us alive. And in order to change, in order to build a business, in order to be the best parent, the best spouse, to do all those things that you know you want to do with your life, with your work, with your dreams, you're going to have to do things that are difficult, uncertain, or scary.
which sets up this problem for all of us. You're never going to feel like it. Motivation's garbage. You only feel motivated to do the things that are easy, right?
Why do you think that is?
Oh, I know exactly why that is. Because I've studied this so much, because for me, one of the hardest things to figure out was, why is it so hard to do the little things that would improve my life? And what I've come to realize, and what we'll talk a lot about today, is that the way that our minds are designed is our minds are designed to stop you at all costs from doing anything that might hurt you. And the way that this all happens is, it all starts with something super subtle that none of us ever catch. And that is with this habit that all of us have that nobody's talking about. We all have a habit of hesitating. We have an idea. You're sitting in a meeting. You have this incredible idea. And instead of just, saying it, you stop and you hesitate. Now, what none of us realize is that when you hesitate, just that moment, that micro moment, that small hesitation, it sends a stress signal to your brain. It wakes your brain up, and your brain all of a sudden goes, oh, wait a minute. Why is he hesitating? He didn't hesitate when he put on his killer spiky sneakers. He didn't hesitate with the really cool track pants. He didn't hesitate with the NASA t-shirt. Now he's hesitating to talk. Something must be up. So then your brain goes to work to protect you. It has a million different ways to protect you. One of them is called the spotlight effect. It's a known phenomenon where your brain magnifies risk. Why? To pull you away from something that it perceives to be a problem. And so you can truly trace every single problem or complaint in your life to silence and hesitation. Those are decisions. And what I do, and what's changed my life, is waking up and realizing that motivation's garbage. I'm never going to feel like doing the things that are tough or difficult or uncertain or scary or new. So I need to stop waiting until I feel like it. And number two, I am one decision away from a totally different marriage, a totally different life, a totally different job, a totally different income, a totally different relationship with my kids. Not like one decision, I'm divorcing you in the marriage example, but one decision on, you could be having a conversation with your spouse and you feel your emotions rise up, and within a tiny window, those emotions can take over and can impact how your marriage goes. Or you can learn how to take control of that micro moment and make a decision to act in a way that actually shifts your marriage. Right. Your life comes down to your decisions. And if you change your decisions, you will change everything. Hey, I'm Mel Robbins, and I'm going to teach you the 4 simple steps that you need to follow in order to manifest the right way, according to research and science. I'm so glad you're watching this. Manifesting is an incredible skill to develop in your life and to practice and build consistently as something that you do. My definition of manifesting is manifesting when you do it following the 4 steps you're about to learn according to research and science. What manifesting does is it trains your mind, your body, your spirit to align with what you want to achieve in life. Manifesting is a way to prepare or socialize your mind and your nervous system and your body to do the work that's necessary to getting what you want. And so the steps that I'm going to walk you through they're based in research, and what they're doing is they remove all of the obstacles that would normally stop you from taking action. Because just thinking about what you want isn't going to get it done. What ultimately creates results in your life are actions. And so manifesting is a way to train yourself to take the actions that will change your life, that will help you get what you want. Manifesting also removes self-doubt, resistance, excuses, imposter syndrome, all the things that would normally stop you from taking the actions. The 4 steps that you need to follow, really simple. Step number 1 is give yourself permission to dream with the lid off. This is really important. And the reason why this is important is because I guarantee you that right now you are not even allowing yourself to fully dream or think about or set goals that are truly aligned with what you deeply want in your heart, that you aren't even able to manifest properly because you're not even honest with yourself about what you actually want. This is a really common thing because you're allowing your self-doubt, you are allowing your fears, your anxiety, your insecurity, you're allowing where you are to dictate and limit where you want to go. And so step one, super important. You must allow yourself, give yourself permission to start dreaming with the lid off. Now, the scientific reason why this is so important is because you have a filter in your brain called the reticular activity system. I write about the RAS for short, the reticular activity system, extensively in the High Five Habit. The RAS is a filter in your mind, and you can do simple things that change the structure of that filter. In fact, the filter in your mind, the RAS, is always changing. So one thing that you can do in order to teach yourself how to dream with the lid off is to adopt a simple habit. Every single morning, I do a very simple thing. I write down 5 things that I want. That's it. When I start my day, after I get up when the alarm rings, I make my bed, I pull on my exercise clothes, I set an intention, I high-five myself in the mirror, I then go out into the kitchen, I crack open my high-five journal, and then inside the journal there are prompts that walk me through the steps of visualizing. And the first prompt is dream with the lid off. Set your spirit free. Write down 5 things every morning that you want. And this is important because when you get what you want out of your head and you physically put them on a piece of paper, research shows that you're 42% more likely to achieve those goals simply by writing them down. That's pretty cool. Secondly, your mind is paying attention. And when you take deliberate action and you write down what you want, you are signaling to your brain that you deserve to have these things. You are signaling to your brain that you do want those things. You're not just going to think about them. These are things that matter to you. And that helps train your mind to allow you to let the desires flow through you. Because right now, you're not manifesting properly because you're not even allowing yourself to dream with the lid off. So that's step number 1. You're going to start writing down 5 things that you want every single morning as a way to train your mind to let you dream freely. So a couple things about this little practice of writing down 5 things that you want every morning as a way to train your mind to allow you to dream again. First of all, you can write down the same 5 things every day. It's your list, your dreams. You get to do this how you want. The second thing that you could do is you could just write down different things every day. It doesn't matter because really what manifesting is manifesting as a way to train and prepare your mind, body, and spirit to help you. And if your mind is blocking you and your mind won't even allow you to fully want the things that you want, like, for example, maybe you want to be a New York Times bestselling author, but you won't even write that down because you don't think it's possible. If you won't even write it down because your self-doubt is stopping you, you're not dreaming with the lid off. And so this simple exercise, write down, I want to be a New York Times bestselling author. I want a house by the beach. I want to take my family to Disney World. I'd love to meet the love of my life. I'd like to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. I want to open a wine bar. I'd love to get in the best shape of my life. I'd like to do a handstand this year in yoga. I'd like my dog to start barking at the neighbors. Whatever you want, it doesn't matter. You're just training yourself to dream. And that's step 1. Allow yourself to want what you want. Step number 2 for manifesting properly according to science is you must visualize the steps that lead you to the thing that you want, not the end goal. This is a major mistake that people make. They manifest improperly because all they do is focus on the end goal. If you've ever made a vision board, think about what you put on the vision board. You put up just the beach house or the $1 million in the bank, or you crossing the finish line, or you launching that business, or you having the body that you want, or you driving the Maserati, whatever it is. The end goal is what you put up on a vision board. That is not what you're going to do when you manifest.
If you start focusing on crossing the finish line of the marathon, that is a one-way ticket to being unmotivated and completely discouraged. In fact, research shows that if all you do is focus on the thing that you want and you just focus on that vision of you and your bikini body, or you with the love of your life on your arms, or you at the Oscars winning that award or the Grammys, what happens is because you've only focused on the end goal, you start to feel really unmotivated and discouraged because you're nowhere near it. That's where manifesting comes in, because we're not going to focus on the end goal. You got to pick something that you want in order to get started. But manifesting isn't about the end. It's about the bridge. It's about going from where you are here to where you want to go. Imagine that there is a bridge that connects where you are right here with what you dream about doing. Now, that dream could be to be a Grammy Award winning singer-songwriter. That dream might be to have a family of your own. That dream might be to have a beach house or a ski house, or to take a trip to Fiji. That dream can be whatever the hell you want it to be. But when it comes to manifesting, once you've given yourself permission to dream with the lid off and really want what you want, to feel the pull of that thing, now we got to talk about the path that connects where you are with where you want to go. And this is all about visualizing the little steps. There's a lot of research that proves why visualizing the steps is the most important thing that you could do. There was a study done at UCLA, for example, where they were researching manifestation and the power of visualization, and they broke students into two groups. And they had Group A, we're going to call these the vision board group. They had Group A close their eyes, visualize in their mind, and feel in their body themselves taking the test and then walking up to a board where the test's scores were posted, and finding their name and seeing an A+. That's what Group A, the vision board group, were told to do, to visualize themselves achieving what they wanted. Group B, we're going to call these the hard workers. These students were coached in this research project to close their eyes and to visualize going back to their dorm room, sitting down at the desk, and studying, and staying up late, and putting in the work, studying and preparing for the tests. Now let me ask you a question. Which group do you think did better on the actual test? Was it Group A, the vision board group, who were taught to visualize and picture themselves walking up to a board and seeing the A+? Or was it Group B, the hard work group, the group that was taught to close their eyes and visualize and seeing themselves doing the work to study for the test? Well, if you answered Group A, you're wrong. If you answered Group B, you got the correct answer. The reason why Group B, the students who visualized studying for the tests, got better test scores, is because when you visualize yourself doing the work, visualizing it leads you to doing the work. And it's only through actions that you will get the result that you want. Preparing your mind and visualizing yourself doing it lowers your resistance and leads to you taking the action. That's why manifesting works. You know, the same is true in sports. There's all kinds of research in sports psychology. In fact, our Olympic athletes for the U.S. Olympic team, they hire sports psychologists to train our top Olympic athletes, particularly after they've been injured, in visualizing themselves competing. When you coach an athlete to mentally rehearse every single detail about going through the competition, you are training the mind, body, and spirit to show up and dominate. This is particularly true for athletes after they've been injured and they're stepping back into competition. If you've been injured in competition, you're naturally going to feel anxious. You're naturally going to be nervous. Your brain and nervous system circuitry is now programmed with the intensity from that injury, the memory from the injury. So of course it's natural to bring that into your pre-competition feelings about it, right? So manifestation properly, remember what it is? Manifesting is preparing your mind, body, and spirit to do the work. It's aligning your mind, body, and spirit with what you want. It removes the obstacles that would normally stop you, which then prepares and motivates you to take the actions to succeed. So in the case of athletes who visualize themselves and see themselves doing all the steps over and over, they're removing the nerves. They're removing all the programming related to the injury. They are preparing their mind, body, and spirit to go in and frickin' dominate. And so are you, because that's step 2. You gotta see it. The third step is you're gonna feel in your body what it feels like to do the work. So let's go back to the research project at UCLA. Not only do I want you to close your eyes and picture yourself going back to the dorm room. Notice I'm closing my eyes. It's because manifesting is a habit for me. And when I manifest, I get in it, man. I close my eyes. I go into my mind. I am literally in my imagination there. And I not only can see myself doing the work, I can feel it. You can feel what it's like to walk into that dorm. You can feel what it's like to sit down. You can feel the heavy backpack hit the table. You can feel yourself crack open that book. You can feel yourself sitting at that desk and the desk light. And you can also even feel what it's like, can't you? As the sun starts to set and it gets darker outside and the light on your desk starts to get brighter and take things over, you can just put yourself right there. And the feeling is super important because, again, manifesting is mind, body, spirit. We got to get your nervous system involved. We've got to make you feel like you're at the scene. One of the reasons why feeling it is so important is because it magnifies the imagery in your mind. And when your mind rehearses something, here's what's cool about your brain. Your brain doesn't know the difference between you studying for that test or you doing the work to start that business or get healthy or put yourself back out there or heal your trauma or save the money to get that house that you want or whatever it is that you're visualizing. Your brain doesn't know the difference between you visualizing those things and you actually doing them. In your mind, it's the same. So it's almost like a training run for a marathon. You are building a muscle that helps you win when you take the actions. It's so cool. And so you not only want to feel what it's like to study for that test, put yourself at the scene. You also want to feel a sense of pride that you're doing the work. And the pride piece is really important because the pride piece acts almost like a booster. It amplifies the memory imprint. When you bring this, wow, there I am, I'm doing the work, I'm proud of myself, I'm staying in, I'm putting in the extra work. Somebody said no and I kept on going. I didn't stop when the first venture capital firm said they wouldn't invest. There I am investing again. When you feel this sense of pride in yourself, it supersizes the imprint and the rehearsing. And so it's a super important part of the feeling. Not only feel the steps, feel the pride that you're doing it. This is so important that I want to give you yet another example. Let's say that your bucket list, something on your bucket list is to run a marathon. For me, it was on my bucket list when I was a young mom to run the New York City Marathon. Now, what's interesting is I applied, I got a number, and when I won this number out of a lottery system with the New York City Marathon, I was a brand new mom. I was totally out of shape. I was not at all in any kind of a place to run the New York City Marathon. Now, here's the thing. I used visualization to help me lower my fear and my excuses. Because when I got the number, I did not have a lot of time. If I had been a person who was not visualizing, I probably would have said, I don't have enough time to train. I'm not ready. I can't do this. All the excuses would have come in. But instead, I used visualization. Now, how do you use visualization for, say, a marathon? You do not want to visualize crossing the finish line. That is how you visualize incorrectly. Luckily, I knew how to visualize at this moment in my life. You need to visualize yourself going from 0 to preparing to run that race. So what does that mean? That means you need to visualize, oh, there I am. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. Oh, I don't feel like getting up, but I'm getting up and I'm putting on my sneakers and it's dark out and I don't feel like going for a run, but there I am going out the door alone in the cold. Wow, I am going for, I'm pretty proud of myself because I'm training. Oh, here's another thing you could visualize. I'm on a training run, it's mile 7 and it starts to rain and I keep going. Wow, I'm wet and I'm still running. I'm proud of myself because I'm out there training. It's mile 11 and my earbuds just lost battery. I don't have any more music. I got 5 more miles to go. I'm out here for almost another hour. And I continue going. And I continue going. And I see myself completing that 16-mile training run. And I allow myself to not only feel what it feels like to push through that moment when those earbuds run out of battery, but I also feel proud of myself for pushing through. That's how you prepare yourself for the thing that you need to do, because it removes the obstacles that would stop you from pushing through at mile 11 when your earbuds run out, because you've already rehearsed the moment in your mind. And then finally, step 4, and this is where a lot of people, not naming names, but this one is like really important. You need to do the work, okay? You got to do the work, because it's only through your actions that you will accomplish what you want. Let's say that you've always wanted to climb a particular mountain, okay? There's a mountain called Haystack. It's not even that tall, so I should probably pick a bigger one, but let's just call it Haystack Mountain. You've always wanted to climb Haystack Mountain. You pull up to Haystack Mountain, and you get out of the car, you park at the, National Forest parking lot, and you make the mistake of looking up at the mountain, which is the end goal, right? And you notice it's up in the clouds. And then you start to think, oh my God, that's a really far way away. I don't really know how I feel about doing this anymore because that looks like it's going to take a really long time. And then all of a sudden it starts to rain. And you go, I don't think I want to do this because I don't think I feel like doing this. And next thing you know, you are back in the car, driving back down the road to that little diner that you saw. And instead of climbing the mountain that you've always dreamt of climbing, you've now come up with an excuse and you have abandoned ship. You now have literally become your own obstacle. You talked yourself out of it. You started to doubt yourself. You told yourself you weren't ready and that you didn't feel like it. You pull the ripcord, you're out of there. In order to have what you want in life, you must stop staring at the top of that mountain. You must stop creating excuses for why you can't or don't feel like it. And you must put your head down and look at the first step in front of you. And then you must take the action and start walking toward what you want. And it'll be a hell of a lot easier for you to do that if you have also been putting in the time every day consistently to not only see yourself walking up that trail step by step, but that you have felt yourself pushing through the resistance, the fear, the obstacles, the excuses that are stopping you now. And feel proud in every fiber of your being as you push through those obstacles and see yourself and feel yourself doing the work. That's how you manifest properly. And if you do that before you pull into the national park parking lot, if you look up at that mountain and you see clouds and it starts raining, it won't matter because you've already rehearsed this moment in your mind, body, and spirit. And you, my friend, will start walking up that trail. And you're going to be proud. That's how you use manifesting to get what you want. That's how you leverage all the science and research to train and prepare your mind, body, and spirit to help you get what you want. And that's how you hack the motivation and inspiration that you need to take the actions that get you everything that you want and deserve in life. And so I cannot wait to bring on fitness coach Peter, who is losing his motivation over in Ireland. So let's see what he has to say right now.
Hello there, Mel, team, and the phenomenal community. I'll stay connected. My name is Peter, and I'm dialing in from the Republic of Ireland. And I've got this question based on today's live stream topic. positivity. I'm a fitness coach, and I feel like I've been inspiring, motivating, teaching how to deal with different obstacles, my clients, my family. But on most days, especially now, I am feeling I'm losing the ground under my own feet, and I'm struggling with finding that constant flow of positivity. So my question is, how can I find that balance within my own? So thanks very much for everything you do. Stay blessed, stay well. Thank you again.
All right. So there were a couple things about the question. First of all, Peter, thank you so much for sending your question all the way from Ireland. And you said a couple things that jumped out at you. You are losing the ground underneath you, and you are seeking advice about how to stay motivated consistently. So here's what I want to do. I want to put this in the language that you as a fitness coach will certainly appreciate, but you watching, this is for you too. You're training for this moment. And Peter in particular, somebody who has been motivating people, who has been training people to be physically fit. You have been training for this moment your entire life. And you got to view this moment like a test. And what is the test testing? It's testing who you are. That's part of the race right now, how you show up for it, right? It's not a matter of how you finish it. It's how you show up for it and what you do while you're running it, the kind of racer that you are. And look, I get it. This is a very difficult race that we're all running because we don't know where the finish line is. And it is very, very hard to stay motivated, which is the advice that you're seeking, Peter, when you don't even know when this damn thing is ending. This is the part of the race. I've run 4 marathons. Don't everybody gasp. I mean, it was nothing to brag about. I mean, I finished them, which is something to brag about, but it's not like I won the damn thing. But this is the point in time when you're running a race, when you said you're losing ground. What that means is you're starting to slow down. You feel your legs getting heavier. You feel your breath getting a little bit more shallow. You start to wonder, oh shit, why did I sign up for this thing in the first place? You start to wonder if you are going to make it. And so here's what I'm going to tell you, Peter. When you are coaching your clients and your clients start to lose ground, when you are coaching your clients and your clients don't feel motivated and they feel tired and they feel like giving up and they don't want to do another set of burpees, what do you tell them? You tell them to dig deeper. You tell them to find the strength within them to keep going. You see, what you need right now is you need to start building the motivation of your mind, because motivation doesn't exist in your body. It comes from up here. And what I hear is that you now have an opportunity. This is what the test is, Peter, to train harder because you are capable of so much more. This is handing you a moment where you get to become an even stronger and more capable version of yourself. Now, does that mean that you're going to be motivated all day long? Every single day that you wake up? No. But it means you've got to have the mental fitness right now to continue to get up, to show up, and to dig deeper when it comes to your mindset, when it comes to your attitude, when it comes to your just knowing that you are going to get through this. And so this moment, everybody, it's telling you who you are. It's telling you whether or not you're the kind of person that shows up to a challenge and you're pissed off, or you're sad, or you feel depressed, or you feel despair, or you feel all of these things that start to take you down the drain of negativity. And what I'm here to tell you is that you are built for this moment. You may not feel like it. You may feel sad.
Those are all normal feelings. You may feel negative. It's very easy to do. You may start to feel a little bit of despair. That's going to come and go. But this is where the test of this race that we're currently running lies. When those feelings rise up and you start losing ground and you start feeling like you're not going to make it to the finish line and you start feeling unmotivated, can you dig deeper and remind yourself that you were built for this moment? Because one of the things that I know is that when the shit is hitting the fan, I guarantee you there are people in your life that are looking to you. There are people in your life, whether it's clients or colleagues or family members, that are looking to you right now. You know what that tells me? That you're the kind of person that people rely on. And now is the moment in time in the race that we're all running where you got to teach yourself to rely on yourself. How do you do that? How do you build the muscle of the mind? It's very simple. Very simple. I didn't say easy. I said simple. The steps are very simple. To win this race and to build strength in this muscle right up here, you got to focus on the shit you can control. And that is what you do with your body and what you do with your mind. And the one thing that has made a huge difference in me, because you can see that I am showing up as a very different Mel Robbins than I've been the last couple of weeks. The last couple of weeks, I have been losing the race. I've been going up and down. I've been doing my best to stay positive, but I am now back in the race. I have now found my ground and found my footing. And it comes in focusing on what you can control. And you know what you can control? There's only one thing. It's what are you doing to make this day the best day that you can do? What are you doing to master this day today? Fuck tomorrow. Forget about next week. Forget about what's happening this summer. This is a race that will be won by those of you who are the ability to focus on today and making today amazing. And so you know what I did today? Today, I did something I haven't done since the beginning of this quarantine. I got up an hour earlier than I normally do. Why? Well, because I noticed that throughout my day, I was feeling behind. Throughout my day, even though I was waking up, even though I have a morning routine, even though I was getting stuff done, I felt, even though I was doing all those things, somehow behind. And I realized that in order to master my day, in order to be fully in control of what I'm going to do today, I got to make sure that when my ass hits this chair at 9 a.m. and my workday starts, I have fully taken control of everything that puts my body and my mind first. And when I was honest with myself about why I was losing ground and why I wasn't feeling motivated and why I was starting to feel my own energy cycle down, it was because I was not taking the time in the morning to give myself the mental prep and training and the physical prep and training so that I could make this day, today, April 14th, with everything that I got. And so that's what you need to do. And that's what, Peter, you need to do too over there in Ireland. You need to remind yourself of who you are. You are a person who has been training for this moment your entire life. This is a race where you do not see the finish line, which means you have got to focus on today. You have got to focus on what you can control. And the only thing we can control is what our body is doing today and what we allow our minds to focus on. So the second your mind starts to go down that drain of, oh my God, what's going to happen? And this fall, and when's it going to end? And blah, 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 do. And you feel yourself losing motivation and losing ground. We are done mourning this situation. We are done feeling sad about this situation. How about we give ourselves a collective bitch slap? We dig a little bit deeper and we show up for this situation. What else are you going to do? Feel sorry for yourself, lick your wounds? It's so much better when you decide to dig deep and you decide to show up. That's what I'm going to do. Some days it's going to be harder than others, but that's the whole point of getting stronger. Reminding yourself that you are capable of so much more. And all of the emotions that you're feeling and all of the excuses that you're feeling, it's all normal. but it's a choice as to whether or not you listen to them. So, Peter, keep me posted on how you're doing. And for you watching this, I hope that this gives you the kick in the ass that you need to shake that negativity loose and to rise to this moment and start working on the things that you can control, your mind and your body. And in case nobody else tells you today, I'm going to tell you, I love you. I believe in you. I don't care how tired you are. I don't care how sad you are. I don't care how overwhelmed you are. Get your shit together, because this is the new reality. And you can make today a better day by focusing on what you can control. And I'm going to be here every day, annoying, as positive as I can be, to push you to remember that. And if you're wondering, how the hell do I get on this and get this motivation from Mel and ask her a question and get the tough love that I need and seize the opportunity in this moment, just text your question. See the phone number below? That is our texting community. Get yourself on it. Ask a question. When you text it, there will be something that comes back to you. You got to reply in order to opt in. Ask the question. That way my team can reach out to you. You could find yourself on a future video. How about that? All right. You go have a great day and dig a little deeper today. You know, this is kind of my brand of advice. It's got to be incredibly stupid on the surface.
Yeah.
It's got to be so simple. It's really implausible that it works. Mm-hmm. And once you start unpacking it, it has to have a crazy bananas amount of scientific proof and real life proof in people's lives to prove why it works. Okay. So I'll tell you the story first behind the high five habit, because I did not set out and go like, oh, okay, I've written the 5-second rule book. I need to come up with another 5. I have been toiling away with what book to write for nearly 5 years.
Yes.
So it's been 5 years since I've had a book in print. And I had this random morning where there's a lot going on in my life. I'm not going to get into it because it's a boring story, but I was just having a really hard time in my life. And I woke up, got out of bed. I made my bed like I always do. I walked into the bathroom. I'm standing there brushing my teeth. And I catch my reflection in the mirror. And my first thought is, God, you look like hell. Seriously.
Yeah.
And I know women in particular can relate to this, but what a lot of people don't realize is you guys are incredibly hard on yourselves too. Mm-hmm. And so as I go, God, you look like hell, I start then cataloging all of the things that are wrong with my appearance. I'm like, your gray hair is coming in, you've got stripes on your neck, one of your boobs is lower than the other, you know, you look exhausted. And then as soon as you have a negative thought or a self-criticism, it's sort of like lint in a dryer. Once you start collecting it, it just keeps on collecting it. So now I'm thinking not about how horrible I look or how tired I look. Now I start thinking about all the stuff I need to do. I start going, oh my gosh, I got up a little too late and I've got a Zoom call in 8 minutes. I don't even have a bra on yet. The dog needs to be walked. And I could feel my energy going down. Like yes. I just felt the weight of the world on my shoulders. Yeah. Overwhelmed, uncertain. Mm-hmm. You know, it doesn't even matter what was going on in my life at that time, because I think it's a universal feeling to feel overwhelmed by your life at times.
Yes.
And so here I am, a motivational speaker.
Unmotivated.
Unmotivated, uncaffeinated, no bra on, standing there in my underwear with my dog at my feet. I don't know what came over me. But as cheesy as it sounds, I just raised my hand and gave the tired, haggard woman in the mirror a high five. Mm-hmm. And it didn't change my life like right then and there, but something shifted. Like I felt a little lighter. I felt like I wasn't alone. Mm-hmm. I felt like, okay, you know, this moment in your life is hard, but you can do this, Mel. And I went on with my day. So the second day, I woke up, and this is when things started to really kind of churn in my mind. The first thing that I noticed was this. So I wake up, Lewis, and I make my bed. And I realized I was looking forward to that moment in the mirror where I was going to see myself. Now, look, I'm 52 years old. I will probably have a hot flash during the middle of this interview at some point. I'm a lot older than you.
Just don't eat lobster.
Yeah, oh yeah, I know. I had a really allergic reaction the last time we were together. Wow. But I have spent the first 45 years of my life either criticizing the woman in the mirror or ignoring her. And this was the first time that I could remember that I was actually looking forward to seeing myself. Sort of like, when I was coming here today, you and I are very good friends. As I was walking into the building, I'm feeling excited to see you. And it wasn't like I was feeling excited to see myself. Like, I'm not like, yeah, because I got a lot of crap going on in my life. But I felt a little bit like I'm about to see a friend. And so that second morning, I high-fived myself again. And again, I feel something shift. I feel just a little lightness in the mood, and I go on with my day. So the third morning, I do it again. And again, like lightness. And so I keep doing it. A couple weeks go by. And now I'm starting to feel a little bit of momentum. And I'm really enjoying it. I have no idea what the hell is going on. I haven't even done this in front of my husband, Chris, yet, because let's be honest. Standing in front of a mirror.
High-fiving yourself.
Yeah, like, come on, how pathetic does it get? You're like, is your life that bad? So I snap a photo of myself. I've got my retainer in. I got bed head. Like, I'm not looking glamorous. I did not expect this to be the photo that would ignite a movement. And within an hour, I posted on my story on Instagram. Within an hour, at least 100 people tagged me. All over the world. People high-fiving the mirror with their kids, people on a submarine high-fiving it in the military, people MMA, and I thought, okay, wait a minute. Maybe I'm not the only one that needs a little boost in the morning. Maybe I'm not the only one who feels alone. Maybe I'm not the only one that is missing a sense of encouragement and control and confidence in an overwhelming moment in my life. Maybe there's something here. And then the messages started to come in. Whoa, Mel, like I have been using this for 5 days. This woman wrote to us, Lewis. She's had body dysmorphia for 20 years. Has not been able to look at herself in the mirror. 5 days of doing this high five. And she said, I can look at myself and I even see beyond the body. I see the person. And I can grin. We had a woman who wrote to us who said that she was in a domestic violence shelter. She had escaped a very abusive relationship. She had seen me talking at our friend Jamie Kern Lima's event. She started doing the high five thing. She DMs us and she says that, I have childhood trauma. I've just been in a physically abusive relationship. I've lost everything. I'm in a domestic violence shelter. What this high five in the mirror is teaching me is that I still have myself. And so that was when I said, I got to figure out what's going on. And I started to unpack the research. And the research around this simple ritual, I love that you called it a ritual because I want people to habit stack this with brushing their teeth. This is so life-changing. It's so simple. The science here is like, you can't believe it. And once I unpack it, you're going to be like, I can't believe how cool this thing is.
So what's the science say?
Okay, so the science. Let's start with the first thing. So the first thing is that when you first try it, okay, you will not be able to raise your hand and high-five yourself and be like, you suck, Mel, or today's going to be terrible. And there's a reason for that. And the reason is that for your entire life, you have given other people high fives. So when you give a high five or you receive one, what is a high five? Just the gesture alone. What does this communicate if we do this to each other? And we high five?
Nice job, good work, you're doing amazing. Yeah, keep it up.
Yeah, I believe in you. I love you. Let's go. If you blow a shot and you got to get back in the game, a high five's like shake it off. You can win.
Yes.
And so all of that lifetime of high fiving other people and the messaging associated with it is programmed right here in your subconscious brain. There's a field of study called neurobics, which is about...
Neurobics.
I know, I didn't make that up.
Sure.
It's interesting. Physical movement plus new neurological activity. When you marry an unexpected physical movement with new neurological activity, it's the fastest way to forge new neural pathways in your brain. Okay? We know the example, you've covered this on your show, of brushing with the wrong hand and thinking positive thoughts. And the reason why that works is because when you're brushing with the wrong hand, it's unexpected, your brain doesn't expect it, so instead of drifting off about the fact that you need to walk the dog,
You have to focus, so your prefrontal cortex is engaged. You're not used to high-fiving your own reflection. So it's an unexpected physical movement that then activates all of the positive programming in your subconscious. So when you raise your hand and you high-five your tired self, Lewis, what happens is all of the messaging with this, the high five, I believe in you, I love you, I celebrate you, you got this, keep going, come on. It actually fuses with your freaking reflection.
Wow.
It's impossible to criticize yourself.
Yeah.
Your brain won't allow it because it's not wired that way when you're making that motion.
Right.
Isn't that crazy?
It's hard to say you suck. You don't matter to anything. It's hard.
No,
Yeah.
you can't.
Yeah.
You can't. And so this lifetime of positive subconscious programming associated with high-fiving other people gets fused with your own reflection in this ritual. That's just the beginning, okay? Wow. That's just the beginning. The second thing that starts to happen that's really interesting. So, we've had a ton of people do this, obviously, around the world. Super easy idea. It's spreading around the world. We start interviewing people about what's going on, and this is what we notice. We notice that one of two things happen when you first try this. So here's how I want everybody to try it. You're going to go into the bathroom and, do it before or after you brush your teeth. And that's important because I want you to make this a ritual that's part of your morning routine. And so we need to stack it with something you already do. And you're going to stand there for a minute and I want you to look at yourself. Now that right alone, most of us don't do. Look at yourself. Right. And I want you to just think about the day ahead. This is based on more research. So recent studies show from the University of Florida that if you take just a minute and you set an intention about how the day is going to go, about who you're going to be, how you're going to show up, what's the one thing that kind of matters to you to really make progress on, if you just kind of set that intention, who am I going to be today? How am I going to show up today? Even if it's a hard day, how are you going to show up? And then you raise your hand and you seal it. Research shows just setting the intention alone changes your mood. It boosts your productivity. It increases your ability to make an impact on other people. And so when you seal it with this high five, it becomes this ritual of setting an intention for the day and also silencing the critic and reprogramming the default setting about how you see yourself, whether or not you believe in yourself. And you leave that bathroom feeling like the wind is at your back. Now, when people do this for the first time, so you're going to stand there tomorrow and you're going to go, okay, Mel Robbins and Lewis, geez, okay, I'm sitting here, brush my teeth. Okay, this is stupid. You're going to just start rejecting it. I guarantee you. This is the coolest stuff you're going to have the biggest resistance to. And so for those of you that just raise your hand and do it, you're going to immediately be like, why have I not been doing this? It feels good to be encouraged and supported.
To high five yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why have I not had my own back? Why do I stand here and criticize myself? Why do I allow this moment every single morning to be a moment where life takes over and I drift into autopilot? Why am I not taking this moment for me to build a partnership with myself?
Yeah.
The second group of people, and this is the larger group,
right,
resist it. And this is really interesting. And the reason why you resist it, and the reason why it feels weird, is because you believe you're not worthy of support or celebration.
From yourself or from others?
Period.
Wow. Why do we think we're not worthy of celebration?
Well, for people that grew up in a chaotic, violent, or whatever household, it was your lived experience.
Yeah.
I think that for many of us, we look back on our lives and, the cognitive negative bias has us focus on the things that went wrong. And so you begin to tell yourself a story about your life that is basically a pyramid of all the things that you regret, of all the things that you wish had done over, of all the things that you don't like about yourself. And so you drag that with you into the bathroom every morning. And you stare at the mirror and you see somebody that has screwed up. You see somebody who's not where you're meant to be. You see somebody who doesn't have the number on the scale or the car that you wanted or the job that you had hoped for or the relationship that you had always dreamed about. And so standing there, you believe you're not worthy of support or celebration. And it's this deep belief. We talk a lot in the personal development space of, oh, I'm not good enough. I actually think that's the polite thing that people say. I believe that people have a much more horrible way of talking to themselves.
Like what?
I can't say it on TV, but I can say it on the internet. I'm a piece of shit.
Yeah.
I'm worthless. No one will ever love me. I screwed up my life. I'm a failure. I'll never amount to anything. It's too late. I'm a bad person. I think people actually say this to themselves.
Yeah. And they say it over and over again.
Yes.
Daily.
Yes. And just like ruts on a dirt road, it starts to wear in your brain and it becomes the familiar path. And so you stand in front of the mirror and, I'm telling you, raise your hand and let all that positive programming you've given to everybody else. We are amazing at celebrating everybody else. We cheer for our favorite sports teams. We buy tickets to, our favorite musicians. We throw birthday parties for people. We take on extra work for our colleagues. We help our family members out and our friends out. But when it comes to supporting ourselves, we don't know how to do it.
Right.
In fact, there's a lot of people that think it's selfish to put yourself first, or that you're arrogant if you do.
Right.
I'm here to tell you it is essential to your well-being, to your fulfillment, to your happiness, all of it. So if you're feeling resistance, you're either going to feel it because you already have a deep story that you don't deserve it because of your track record, your past, because of what's happening in your life. Or you're going to feel resistance because you have been trained to believe that you only deserve that kind of stuff when you're winning. Like if I don't have that car, I don't get the high five. If I didn't get that promotion, I didn't deserve it. If I am not in a loving relationship, I don't deserve to be celebrated because I'm not actually achieving or doing the things that warrant that. I'm here to tell you, I'm on a mission to make every human being realize that if you wake up in the morning and you're breathing and you're standing in front of that mirror and you have survived the stuff you have survived and you are still waking up and trying to do better, you not only deserve a high five, you need it. Because what we also know based on the research is that empowerment, support, kindness, love, celebration, it is the single most motivating force on the planet. Tough love is a bunch of baloney. What really fuels people, particularly when you're going through a challenge, is feeling celebrated, seen, and supported. And the research bears it out.
Yeah, I can think of the times when I was with on sports teams where I had great, loving, encouraging coaches. It made me want to work harder from a more energized place, an abundant energy. But when I had the coaches that would just degrade you and put you down and call you names in front of your teammates and make you feel bad, it would drive me to try to be better, but it was always harder. And I never felt satisfied. I never felt fulfilled. I always felt like even when I accomplished something, it still wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
And then I repeat that pattern, okay, I'm gonna accomplish, but it's not enough to feel loved. And so let me keep accomplishing in order to feel loved, but I still don't love myself because it's not good enough.
Yeah.
So let me go for the next thing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's funny because I have a photo on my phone that my therapist told me to do this exercise in 8 months ago, which was a strategy for me to reclaim the love for myself. So I have a photo of my childhood self. I don't know if people can see this on YouTube.
Cute you are.
But a photo of me, this is probably when I was 5 or 6, maybe I was 7. But something that I've tried to do and really been integrating in my life is to reconnect with the child where I felt like I stopped loving myself.
Okay, so let's talk about this right now.
Yeah.
You ready? So let me talk about this image. So let's talk about the Lewis this age, standing in front of a mirror.
Yeah. And what I do is I stand in front of myself as a child. I imagine myself, but to do it, imagine looking at the mirror as yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm trying to say is when you were this age and you stood in front of the mirror, you had a totally different relationship with yourself because you still loved yourself.
Yeah.
You still thought that you were a great kid and you wanted all the things that the adult Lewis wants.
Right.
You want to feel loved. You want to feel seen. You want to feel heard. You want to feel like you matter. And you, in seeing yourself when you were this age, felt those things for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And somewhere along the way, you lost it.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so what I'm trying to say is that
when you stand in front of this mirror, exactly what Lewis is talking about, when you've got coaches that scream at you and degrade you and sure, it makes you run faster, but it leaves its mark.
It does.
It leaves its mark. And so there's research. So let me talk about why this is so motivating, particularly because so many of your audience love sports, right? So they did a study where they looked at NBA teams. And what they wanted to take a look at was, does fist bumps, backpacks, and high fives make a difference in a team winning? Touch, right?
Didn't they do like a 2020 special on this or something?
I don't know, but if they did, I need to watch it.
Yeah.
But so like the power of touch, but I think it's deeper. It's the power of encouragement.
Interesting.
And so what they found is that in the study, at least in the years that they looked at, you could take a look at the teams that made it to the championships in the NBA, go all the way back to the preseason, and those were the teams that had the most number of fist bumps and back pats and high fives. Yep.
Wow.
And the same was true about the teams that were the lowest in the league at the end of the season. They had the least amount of fist bumps, high fives, and touch. Why?
So they're the least encouraging.
Correct. Those sorts of gestures build trust and partnership. I'm telling you, when you stand in front of a mirror and ignore yourself, you're like the losing NBA team.
Interesting.
Selfish, on your own, isolated. You're not in partnership with the person you're staring at in the mirror. You don't have your own back because you're ignoring yourself.
Yes.
There's another study, and this one is, I think, even more powerful. So they did this study where they wanted to know what's the most motivating thing to help somebody get through a really big challenge. The researchers divide kids into 3 groups, right? And they gave each of the groups of kids very challenging problems to work through. And they wanted to measure, okay, how resilient, how long would they work, what were their attitudes like? And then they measured it based on, well, what form of praise or support are we going to give each one of these groups? And let's see what's the most empowering.
Interesting.
First group gets what we know to be the fixed mindset stuff. The praise was all verbal praise, and it was simply about a trait. Lewis, you are so smart. Lewis, you are a super student, praising something that is just sort of a compliment about you. The second group of students working on a challenging problem got praise based on work ethic, so something in their control. Oh, Lewis, you're working so hard. Lewis, you got such good perseverance. Lewis, you're really like just grinding away over there. Good job. Those guys did better than Lewis, you're smart. Lewis, hardworking, better. The third group, the researchers simply walked up, did not say a word, and high-fived the kid.
Really?
That's it. That group, literally, exponentially, more motivated, worked longer, worked through more challenging problems. Now, here's the big question. Why? Why would a simple high five with no verbal praise be more empowering and motivating and inspiring and develop more resilience and confidence and motivation inside somebody? And the reason why is this. A high five affirms your deepest fundamental needs. It's not just a gesture. When you high five somebody, particularly somebody who has either blown the free throw shot or is working on something difficult or going through a really hard time, when you high five them, you're saying, I see you. When you high five them during a challenge, you actually are acknowledging, I know this is hard. So the person feels heard. And because it's one-to-one, and you have to be really intentional. Like if you and I go to high five, like we have to focus on it. That was a good one.
That was good.
If you miss it, what do? You
got to do it again.
Correct. So there's an intentionality behind it, and that makes you feel like you're being affirmed as a unique individual.
Interesting.
And so all of those things are in that one gesture. Now, it goes even more. So there's even more here. So I was talking to our buddy, Dr. Daniel Amen, right? And so one of the world's leading experts on brains. He's got like 60,000 brain scans.
I think it's like 120,000.
Oh, is it at this point?
Crazy, yeah.
So he was so excited about the high five habit. He completely geeked out. He's like, oh my gosh, yes. He's like, yes, neurobics. Yes. So he said, let me tell you what else is going on, Mel. And I'm like, really? There's more? He said, yeah. He said, you know how when you do it, you said you felt like a little kind of boost in your mood. He said, well, there are 2 things going on there. He said, first of all, when you cross a finish line in a race, what do?
Put your hands up.
Yeah. What do you do when your favorite
You
team
high-five
scores?
someone,
Yeah, you
yeah.
high-five somebody. What do you do at a musical concert? Yay! What do you do? You know, you're raising your hand in celebration when you high-five somebody or fist bump them or put your arm around them. That raised arm gesture in a positive sense triggers your nervous system to tingle with celebration. It's the energy of celebration, even if you're going through something difficult. And even more, you get a dopamine drip when you do this. And so part of the reason why you feel this kind of shift in your mood and you feel a little bit of like, oh, okay, I can face this, I can do this, I got this, is because of the dopamine, it's because of the nervous system,
Right.
and it's because of all of this positive programming associated with that gesture. Isn't that crazy?
That's powerful. It's powerful. I mean, well, so what does someone do, though, if they just constantly have the negative self-talk in their mind that they're no good? Do they go in front of the mirror, you know, every 10 minutes and do this?
No.
Or is there another strategy behind the negative self-talk?
Well, okay, so first things first, definitely make this high five in the mirror a habit, okay? So start practicing it. Give it 5 to 10 days and start to see what happens. The second thing that you can do with negative self-talk, okay, is you need to start to interrupt it. So the thing about negative self-talk is that it is typically something you've engaged in since you were yay high. And in addition to it being wired into your brain, it is also something that can get triggered by your nervous system in stressful situations. And so the first step, and we can talk more about the filter in your brain and how the filter in your brain is causing you to stay stuck in a lot of this negative self-talk and how to use your mind to help you. But the first step is you got to do the awful part of getting self-aware
Yes.
of what the voice is saying. And the way that you do that, there's a couple techniques that you can use to create what researchers or psychologists call objectivity. You want to separate yourself from the voice.
Yep.
So you can do what Lewis is doing. He's writing down right now in a journal. You can keep just a little notebook with you, and you can kind of catalog when your attitude tanks and what are you actually saying to yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
So should we write down all the things we're saying?
You could.
Negative about ourselves?
You can. I personally do it this way. I start to notice when I feel down, or I start to notice when my energy drops. And then I tune into what I'm thinking about. And if it's negative, I go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
I literally notice, oh, you're sitting there thinking you're a bad person again. Oh, you're sitting there thinking that somebody's mad at you again. Oh, you're sitting there thinking that you screw everything up again. Oh, you're sitting there thinking that that nothing ever works out for you. Oh, you're sitting there thinking that you've blown it. Interesting. And then I go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I go, I'm not thinking about that. That's the most basic technique to use, because what I want you to do, since this is like operating on autopilot, it's encoded right here. When you're not really thinking, this is what's running, kind of like the soundtrack of your life. When you just start to notice that you have a thought that's not helping you, you can't control that it popped up, but guess what you can do? You can smack it down.
Yeah.
And so I use the 5-second rule, which we've talked about a lot on your show. Count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The counting backwards awakens your prefrontal cortex. It gives you a moment of control. And then the way to build distance, Lewis, is say, I'm not thinking about that. And here's why. You're so used to thinking this way, I can't just say, stop thinking you're fat and start thinking that you love your body.
Right.
It's not going to happen.
Yes.
It's not going to happen.
Right.
So you've got to go, oh, there I am. I'm trashing the way that I look. I'm telling myself that I'm overweight. I look like shit. I'm hideous. Nobody's going to love me. Be like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I am not thinking about that. It's an act of defiance. See, I want you to go from these negative thought patterns to a more positive, empowering, high-five attitude. Because if you continue to live in, I'm fat, I'm unworthy, no one's going to love me, I've screwed up my life, that will be your life.
Right.
And the trick on this is, I'm not saying change your thoughts and unicorns appear. I'm saying change your thoughts so you stop the 24/7 beatdown
Yeah.
and learn how to lift yourself up so that you can face the things that are going on in your life and so that you can take the actions that you need to take to change your life. Because the reason why you're not changing is not because you're not capable. It's not because of the trauma or your past or anything else. It's because of the beatdown. That's why you're not changing.
Yeah, it's draining.
It's draining. It's demoralizing. It is, and by the way, if you constantly are like, I'm unlovable, I'm worthy, I'm this, I'm that, why on earth would you feel motivated or do you think you deserve to change? If that's the thing in your mind. It doesn't work. And so pay attention. When you feel your energy go negative, be like, oh, okay, what am I, oh, whoa, that's disgusting. 5, 4, 3, I'm not thinking about that. You don't have to insert anything else. Let's just practice shutting it the hell up.
Right.
The second thing you can do is once you kind of get good at interrupting it, I want you to name, like, let's turn it into a character. So I did this with our son Oakley when he was struggling pretty profoundly with anxiety when he was in the 5th grade. He named his anxiety Oliver. And then we asked him to describe Oliver. And Oliver was like this pimply faced kid that, what is that, the Diary of the Wimpy Kid kind of bully looking kid? And whenever the negative worries and stuff would come up, he would you could literally hear him go, Oliver, shut up. And it is the ability, what's happening when you name it and picture the person is that you're able to detach yourself from that voice in your mind that's talking. Because that voice is typically a caregiver that either talked to you that way or talked to themselves that way, or some bully or some trauma experience or some nasty coach that beat this into your head. It's from somebody else. And so we want you to separate yourself so you can be like, oh, that's what Oliver sounds like. That's not actually how I want to talk to myself.
Right.
And so identifying it, interrupting it, and then you can get into the really incredible magic of rewiring your brain to work for you.
Yeah, I think Ethan Kross, who's a psychologist out of the University of Michigan, has a book called Chatter, which is about all the different psychological strategies for eliminating the negative self-talk and improving the quality of your mind. And he says, start coaching yourself just like you would have a great coach coaching you. Have someone like a character in your mind coaching you, celebrating you with your self-talk to help you kind of shift out of that by interrupt it, then coach yourself.
What would Lewis say to me? What would Mel say to me?
Yeah, exactly.
And here's the tricky part of this. So the tricky part of this is that I personally think most mantras are also complete garbage. And the reason why I say that is because you don't freaking believe them.
Right.
So if you think you're worthless, you're never going to be able to stand in front of a mirror and change your life by going, I'm worthy. Because your brain's like, no, you're not. No, you're not. We've been talking about this for your life. You're not worthy. You want me to show you something? So you have to interrupt it. And if you're going to try to replace it, what you need to do are 2 things. Number 1, you have got to come up with, I should have called it pathetic mantra because it would have been easier to remember. In the book, I called it a meaningful mantra. We should just call it a pathetic mantra. You need to come up with something that's like, okay. You know, like if you're really like bad and you think you're a horrible person, like don't make your mantra, I'm amazing. Make your mantra like, I'm doing the best I can.
Yeah.
That's it. Like
something simple.
Yeah, you can believe that, right? You can believe, I'm trying. You know, I'm not meaning to screw up. I'm doing the best I can. Like that I believe.
Yeah.
And that's better than, boy,
I'm the best in the world right now.
No, you're never going to believe that. Ever, ever, ever. Like, for example, if you struggle with health and weight and stuff, it's probably going to be hard for you to stand in front of a mirror and be like, I love my body, because you've been rejecting it. So instead, look at yourself in the mirror and use a meaningful mantra. I deserve to feel healthy.
Right.
And I'm going to treat myself in a way that proves it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's different. It's different because it's believable. The only other thing that will change the way that you think is behavioral activation therapy. So there's a lot of the tools in this book that are grounded as a baseline in the body of research around behavioral activation therapy, which I know you talk about all the time on the show, which is basically act like the person you want to become.
Right.
If you want to be more like Lewis, act like Lewis. Follow his morning routine. Take his advice. Interrupt the garbage, Oliver, in your head. 5, 4, 3. I'm not talking to you, Oliver. What would Lewis say to me? How would Lewis talk to Lewis? And start to act like the person you want to become, and something interesting happens. And this is why the high 5 works, by the way. because it is an action. You are acting like somebody
Right.
who believes in and loves themselves.
Yeah.
That's why it works.
Move into motion. Don't just think only, but
Yes.
move and act.
So,
on it.
so when you see yourself, you know, we always talk about positive morning routines. Let's talk about negative ones, okay? Because your negative patterns are the reason why you have horrible self-talk.
Right.
Like when I was in law school, I hated my life. My anxiety was out of control. I was out of control. I hated law school. And so my behavior actually reflected my state of mind. I would wake up hungover. I would immediately think, oh my God, I'm late. I would then reach for a cigarette and light it. Then I would run around the apartment getting dressed and trying to find everything because nothing was organized. I would then quickly drive to Dunkin' Donuts, even though I had no time to stop for a coffee. I'd get a big old coffee with 4 sugars and 2 creams, smoking another cigarette on the way, speeding my whole way there. Then I would sit in class, be panic-stricken about being called on. Same thing again. Then I would sit at lunch, pick at a salad, gossip with friends, avoid the homework. Then I would go to the library, procrastinate forever. Then I would drive home, split a bottle of wine with my roommate, fall asleep, wake up, repeat. When you see somebody's actions, you can typically predict just how bad they're trapped in their mind.
Absolutely.
But I think we all are. I mean, I think even people that have healthy habits don't have a healthy relationship with themselves. That your self-talk is ground zero. Because how you talk to yourself, what you think about yourself when you look in the mirror, that sort of default setting in your mind, geez Louise, I mean, it makes me really sad, honestly. I gave my first speech in 2 years because of the pandemic yesterday in Salt Lake. And there was a book line. And even though everybody had masks and they were 6 feet away, you could see the pain in people's eyes, the isolation, the sadness, the overwhelm, the feeling of uncertainty.
Yeah.
And I think that people are feeling way more uncertain and afraid than they're actually saying right now. That the sustained amount of change that we've been having to manage,
Yeah.
it's too much. You know, it's a lot. And if you stand in front of the mirror and you can't see somebody that's worth supporting through this, you're just going to continue to go down. Because the one person that you spend your whole life with is you.
Yes.
And this is the relationship you need to be working on. Like you want to be loved, you better learn how to love yourself. You want to feel worthy, stop looking for it out there and treat yourself like you're worthy. How do you do that? Well, by pushing through the resistance and raising your, like if you can't freaking high five your reflection,
Right.
you can't do that. How the hell are you going to make things happen in your life if you don't think you are worthy of support and celebration, particularly when life is hard?
Yeah. How you gonna believe that other people are going to do that for you as well? If you can't do it for yourself, why would other people?
Well, actually,
do that?
this is why people's relationships don't work out. Because you're looking outside yourself for the things you actually need.
For validation.
Correct. You are chasing people and seeking validation in romantic relationships. And that will end when you can stand in front of that mirror and validate yourself. When you build yourself up, when you support yourself, you show up totally differently for everybody else. When you know that you can have your own back, you're not going to be looking for the validation from your boss or your friends or all these other things. People have problems with boundaries because they can't look themselves in the eye. So how the hell are they going to look somebody else in the eye and say, actually, this doesn't work for me? Hey, it's Mel. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed that video, by God, please subscribe because I don't want you to miss a thing. Thank you so much for being here. We've got so much amazing stuff coming. Thank you so much for sending this stuff to your friends and your family. I love you. We create these videos for you. So make sure you subscribe. Mwah.